show on Building Fortunes Radio with your host, motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Be sure to check out Greg at www.gregdwyer.com. That's www.gregdwyer.com. Now on to our show. Take it away, Greg.
Okay, we are back. Today we're going to talk about something that is new. Now, if you've really been paying attention, when we talked about diamond, we talked about something new. Now we're in the word mind, M-I-N-D. We're going to talk about something new again. Now, rest assured, I have new material. I have new things to share with you. First of all, it's to make a point. And the point is you just don't do something new and say, okay, well, I've done it. I've checked that off the list. It's constant. It's finding things new. So first of all, I am facing a new direction. Now, I realize some of you are listening to my voice. That's fine. You can also go to YouTube. You can see the set. I'm facing east. This is where the sun comes up in the morning. I have a background that's red. I have a black shirt. That's new. So I'm going to tell you a little something which is a secret. I've never shared this before, so this is the very first time I'm going to share this. It is something new, completely new. So what is the something new? It's the colors. You know, I just got a message from a friend of mine that does video shoots. We did a shoot yesterday, and he sent me a little message. He says, "You really know your brand." And I thought, well, that's really cool. I've been thinking about this for years. But here's a little secret that I'm going to share with you. I'm facing east, or I should say, that's east. I'm facing west because I'm facing this way. But behind me is a red curtain, and I'm wearing a black shirt. Now think about this just for a moment. I don't know if you've ever gotten up at 4 in the morning, or maybe 3, you know, maybe you hear the birds chirping, or, you know, everything's coming to life, like 4, 5. My neighbor lives across the street. He always gets up, drives out the driveway at 5 o'clock. I always hear him. Now, today, I got up at 5:30. I left the house for 6. It was completely dark outside. Completely dark. Thus, I'm wearing black. You know, black. It's interesting about black. Every single day before the dawn, it's black. It's pitch black, right? And then, in fact, I remember this. Last week while I was driving to Hartford on a Sunday, as the sun was coming up, it wasn't this yellow ball of energy. It wasn't this white ball of energy. I didn't see that, right? I was in darkness, and as I was driving up the hills through Litchfield, I saw redness. The whole sky was red. Sometimes you see this. I certainly see this when the sun sets. Many times the whole area will be just boiling red looking, you know? But here's my point. Every single day is a new chance for you to live your life. You know, I wake up in the morning, I go, okay, another day. I'm happy about that. I know there are some people that wake up and they're like, oh, another day, I gotta go to work, right? I'm happy to face another day, but the reason why I'm using the colors of red and black, there's a few, not gonna tell you everything, but what I will tell you is it has to do with a new day. A new chance. Because think about it, tomorrow, which is Monday, it's going to be dark, probably midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, right? And then, if you get up really early and you want to see the sunrise, you're going to see red first. And then out of that will probably be orange, and then eventually white as the sun takes center stage in the sky. The reason behind the colors is it's about creating something new. Now, think about this. It happens every 24 hours, happens every single day. It's not like you say, okay, I've gone through the program, I've done something new, I've eaten something new, I've traveled a new place, I've met new people, I'm done, I can check that off my list. No. It's constantly doing something new. Now, I understand the resistance. I'm 60. When you get to 60 and 70, your mind, you know, and your energy for doing new things just gets, you know, smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, that's where the growth is. That's where the excitement is. Yes, as we get older, we tend to fall into patterns. Why? Because we want to feel safe, want to feel comfortable. God forbid if we do something new, because it's scary. Scary, really scary. So anyway, that's the secret behind the colors. Now I have a little show and tell if you're watching on YouTube that you'll get to see. If you're listening to me live, you won't see it, but I'll explain it. First of all, I'm wearing black glasses, and I'm going to take them off, and I'm going to put my show glasses on. So I have these show glasses that I wear when I do a presentation. It's interesting because on the sidebars of the glasses, they are red on top of black. On top of black. Think about that for a moment. Very subliminal. Very, well, they're sexy. That's the word I'm thinking of. But besides sexy is that they are providing a message. And that is, today is a new opportunity to do new things. See the black and the red? You can see it on the arms of the glasses. So here's another show and tell item that I'm pretty excited about. It's corny, but if you're watching online, you can see this, right? You can see this if you're watching at YouTube, and I encourage you to go to Gregory Dwyer at YouTube, subscribe, like the channel, share it with people. But here, take a look at this. What do you see? Most likely, if you looked at it really quick, you saw a rabbit on a silk. But if I go like this, and I just change the direction, the rabbit turns into a duck. A couple weeks ago, I was at a event. There was like 70 people in the audience, and we're talking about belief structures, and I brought that out, and I said, listen, I understand, I get it. Not everybody sees the world the same way. However, wouldn't it be magical if we could change our perception of people, places, and things? Instead, as we get older, we get rigid. Rather, we're able to be flexible. So that's really the message today. It's about finding new things in your life, creating new things, and truly breaking the trance. Breaking the trance. What do I mean by that? Well, my friend James just posted on Facebook today. He said, we need the courage to break the spell. I have a little pocket watch. I told you I was going to have some props today. This is a pocket watch I got from Ireland a couple months ago. It's a couple minutes after 5. It keeps time. This pocket watch reminds me of the hypnosis that we put ourselves in on a daily basis. Now, I understand there's certain routines, certain things we ought to do every day, like brushing our teeth and getting to work on time, and these are all good things. I'm not against that. In fact, if we have these good habits, because either way you're going to have habits, right? You're either going to have good habits or bad habits. But if we have good habits, we don't have to think about them. We just make the phone calls. We go out and talk to people. We build our business. We work well with other people. If that becomes habitual, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. However, if we want to grow, we have to experience new things. Now, the last time that I recorded this, I believe it was around Mother's Day. And I talked about this book about transference. And what the book was talking about, and what I was talking about, is that we have the tendency to just simply repeat old patterns over and over and over again, almost like being in a trance, hypnotic trance. Because what we're doing is we're reaching for things that are familiar, that remind us of our childhood, people, places, and things that we feel comfortable about, right? Why? Because most of us want to be comfortable. We want to survive, maybe we want to thrive, but most of all, we don't want to be scared. Now, right behind me, underneath this red backdrop or curtain, I have a bench. And one day, about a year or so ago, around Christmas time, my sister comes through that door, which is over there, and she's like, I'm going to give this to you, which is literally the bench that I sat on when I was 5 years old to tie my shoes for the first time going to kindergarten. This is the bench. And on top of the bench is a Afghan that perhaps, I think it was my mom or my grandmom made, stitched with her own hands, or crochet I think it is, and she gave that to me one Christmas. Oh, I mean, she could have spent $1 million and I wouldn't have been happy, but she gave me the bench that I tied my shoes on, and she gave me this crochet blanket that my mother made. It's got so many memories, very sentimental. Every time I come in the door and I look at it, or I go over to that, I think, gosh, it's amazing how time has gone by. But in the same sense, we like comfortable things. We like things that are familiar to us. We don't like to step outside of our comfort zone. But I'm here to tell you that if you're going to excel in business, if you're going to excel in life, you have to try new things. You have to grow. You know, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. I've been studying him for over 20 years. I worked backstage for him, did security, been around that community for years. It kind of got me to understand NLP and hypnosis. And what I learned from him is that most people are in a trance. Most people are repeating old patterns over and over again. And to break out, you have to have the courage to do something new. So I want to share with you something that I've been working on that is brand new. Back in June, back in July, I decided to put together a mind reading show, which I've never done before. I mean, I've been working on the importance of focus for 7 years. Now, today is September 2023, so around 2016, I did my first presentation on the magic of communication, and for about roughly 6 or 7 years, I've been honing my skills, cutting away at this diamond, getting really crystal clear on the message, hiring people as coaches, and I'm telling you, it's a wonderful, wonderful message. Very clear, helps a lot of people. My point in telling you this is that it is a process that we have to go through. And in the process of doing these things, we change and we evolve. So I thought, let's do something new. So I decided to reach out to libraries and community events and churches and say, hey, you know, Halloween's coming up in a few months. You got anything going on for Halloween? They're like, nope. In 4 weeks, count them, 4 weeks, I was able to book, I think it's like 21 or 22 shows for the month of October. All by myself. All I did was I picked up the phone and I just made phone calls, sent emails, followed up, and within 4 weeks I had roughly 19 or 20 shows. Now here's the funny thing, I might have mentioned this. I don't have a show. After I sold the show, I sat down with my coach, came up with a plan, came up with an outline. Now I have a show, but I've never done this show before. Never. I used to do magic back in the 70s and 80s, never really did a mind reading show. I know I'm going to do it. I know it's going to be fun. I know people are going to love it, and I can't wait for Halloween next year. Not just Halloween this year, which is coming up in a couple weeks, but next year, because I see this as a new tradition for me. Because first of all, I love the Halloween season, right? If you know me, you know I love it. Second of all, I love to perform, and this is a performance. It's not about teaching people about focus, though there's a little bit of that in there, but I don't tell people. And I'm looking forward to it. So why am I so excited? Because I really believe that what I learned from Tony is it's not about getting things, it's not about achieving things, it's who you become in the process. As you grow and as you become more of who you really are, that's what's really going to bring you happiness. And I can't tell you, I am so happy that sometimes I can't sleep. And I, you know, like just yesterday we went on a photo shoot. We're working on a video for my first ever speaking sizzle reel. So last night I came home after a party with my family and I'm in bed and my mind is just racing thinking about all the new things that are going to come out of this sizzle reel, which should be out by the end of the year, this December. So look for that. All right, I'm looking for the time and it looks like we're almost at the half-minute mark. I want to look at my notes, so we're going to take a 30-second commercial. We'll be right back.
You've been listening to the Great Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. If you wish you could sharpen your focus on what matters most to you and achieve more, then you owe it to yourself to read Greg's ebook at greatdwyerebook.com. That's www.greatdwyerebook.com. Download it today and give it away. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Great Dwyer Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio with motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Now back to our show. Take it away, Greg.
All right, so I began thinking about this years and years ago. I was doing a speaking event with this gentleman by the name of Jerry Clark. And Jerry was helping me out in the industry, and we did this venture together where I spoke and he spoke. And after it was over, I was asking him, I said, how come, people get focused or they get excited, but they don't stay that way? And that really got me thinking about this. And not just thinking about it. It's like, you have a thought, well, I wonder why it's been so rainy this summer, because June, July, August, September, October, not October, but these last 3-4 months, it's been raining and raining. So you have this thought, well, why is it raining so much? And you just let it go. I didn't let this go. Why is it that some people get so excited on a weekend seminar or retreat, or they go and they listen to a speaker, and then back on Monday, or the next Monday I should say, they just slide back into what was familiar? It really bothered me. And then I thought to myself, how come some people break the spell, are very successful, they move forward, they make things happen like magic, and then other people are left behind? Like, what is it? Is it genetics? Like, I've been obsessed about this thing for at least 20 years. This one question. How come you got 100 people, they listen to the same message, and one guy goes out there and just burns it up and just does crazy things and makes things happen, and the other 99 people fall back into the patterns of where they were before? And I'm reading this book by Anthony Gailey. Anthony and I crossed paths about a year ago. He was on my podcast. Wonderful guy, wonderful podcast. I saw him at a hypnosis convention last August, which was a year ago. Marvelous guy, marvelous message. Has influenced me in my message, by the way. I have to give him credit. And his book is fabulous. It talks about the subconscious mind. And what he mentions in the book kind of has put the pieces together for me, and I want to share it with you. This is new. This is new. So move up, listen. If you're on the phone, turn up the speaker. If you're watching me online, get really close to the camera, because this is new stuff. It's not new. It's been around for years, but I've never talked about it. It's called the bell curve. Bell curve. That's it. Simple. You're like, oh, that's not new. I know it's not new. It's new because I'm sharing it with you now. But here's what he says. If you take any group of people, let's say you take 1,000 people, or let's say you just take 100, because math is easy for me with 100. And you tell them, look, this is how you prospect. This is how you get to $100,000 a year. This is how you get on stage. I have a lot of friends that do coaching for speakers, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, when I get to a certain level in the speaking industry, when can I open my academy? Never. I'm not doing it. And here's why. Because if you brought 100 people into your academy, right? Now here's a secret that most people are not going to want to hear, but I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to hold back. If you brought 100 people into anything, an online course, gave them a book, gave them a CD, I don't even know if they do that anymore, MP3, 100 people, there's a bell curve, right? About 2% will excel, meaning they'll listen to the material that they heard on a Wednesday at a seminar, right? They'll take notes, copious notes, and then they'll spend the weekend relaxing. Come Monday morning, they'll actually do it. They'll take massive action. They'll repeat it over and over again until they break the spell of the old. They'll create new habits, and they'll excel beyond anybody else. 2%, maybe 1%. Most people, they won't do it. That's it. They won't do it. Most people will go right back to where they were before. And then a few people will not even do that. They'll get discouraged and they'll fall behind. Now, why am I telling you this? Because if you want to beat the odds, you got to realize that you have to separate yourself from most people. You can't model most people. You can't listen to most people. Most people tell you things that they're not doing. You don't want to get coached by a person that's telling you something they've read out of a book and they're not actually doing it. I have a client right now that I coached. I've coached her in business. I've coached her in different aspects. Everything I've shared with her has been based on experience. And the same thing when I work with people in business. I don't say to them, hey, this is what I read in a marketing book, or this is what I read in a sales book. No, this is what I'm doing and this is what works. Modeling up is finding someone that is doing something that's old for them but's new for you. And in the process of getting with them, what will happen is you'll take on their habits and magic will happen. So what does Anthony say? He says most people won't break away from the masses. And here's another thing I think. People are afraid to be separated from the masses because being common or being like most people is not only comfortable on an individual level, at least you have a lot of people around you that are doing the same thing, which is pretty much nothing. Now think about this. It kind of reminds me of Joseph and his, his amazing coat that he gets from his father in the book of Genesis. He's got these brothers, but his father pretty much favors him and gives him a special coat, and he's very special, and he has these dreams and he has these visions of what's going to happen. Like he sees into the future like a psychic. And his brothers, even his father, are kind of jealous. Even his mother is jealous, right? I think what keeps most people stuck in the bell curve is not only do they not take action, they don't want to disappoint their friends and family. They don't. You know, if familiar feels comfortable, it really hurts to outdo somebody. So people will love you and they'll applaud you because you're doing well. But very few people will feel that way towards you if you're doing better than them. Now I know it's harsh. But I do think that's the reason why people get stuck. So when I read this, I thought, this is the answer. You can't beat the numbers. If you brought 1,000 people into a course on how to be a speaker or how to do a podcast like I'm doing right now, or how to write a book, let's say, or how to do a hypnosis show or a Halloween show, mind reading show. If you brought 100 people in or 1,000 and you gave them everything, you can't beat this bell curve. There's no way. Most people, and this is how I open my lecture, most people get focused, right? Like New Year's Eve resolutions. Get focused, right? They want to lose weight. Very few people stay focused. It's like 2%. Like, yeah, there's that number again. 2%. Like 98%, they fall right back into patterns of where they were before, and they don't change at all. Now, I'm going to get to the root of this, what I think it is. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you don't agree. But I think in addition to what I've just shared, what stops people and also stops me is fear. Because let's face it, if you get in your car and you drive the same routes and you go to the same job, you talk to the same people, it's familiar and you don't have to worry about things being scary, right? I was talking to somebody yesterday, he was on the crew for the video shoot and he was talking about expanding his business, but I won't get into details. He said, one thing that holds me back is I'm a little afraid. I get it. You know, anytime we expand ourselves and do something that we have never done before, it is scary. Now, I want to help you put it into perspective, and this is one of the ways that I look at it, and maybe it'll help you. We're all in different paths, we all have different interests in life, but what is the number one thing that people fear? Okay, they fear public speaking, but beside that, it's probably death. It's probably, oh my gosh, I'm going to die one day. And I think the reason why people are afraid of it is because they've never done it before. Like, you know, I'm 60, I've had 60 years of experiencing this life. Or if you're 70 or you're 20 or you're 50, you have this story or this reality that you've lived, right? You're like, what the heck is going to happen when I die? Let me tell you, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say this is exactly what happens. This isn't a cult. But if it was, I would tell you. But my point is this. If the greatest fear is death, and you go, okay, it's inevitable, folks. Like, one of my friends, I think he's out in the UK, he posted something on Facebook. He goes, I will finish the quote. You know, he just put I will and then finish it. Like I will have $1 million, or I have $1 billion, or I will speak around the world, or I will write a book, you know, goals, right? So I will, and then he said finish the sentence. So I wrote one word, right? And I know it's morbid, but listen to me for a second. He writes, finish the sentence, I will, and I just put the word die. I will die. You know, and then he wrote me on Facebook Messenger, Greg, are you okay? I said, I'm fine. I'm really busy. I'm excited. I'm happy. What are you talking about? He probably was concerned about my mental health. Probably you are too. Here's the point. It's inevitable that we're going to die. It's probably one of your biggest fears other than public speaking. So if you can get past the fear of death, like, well, my mother's dead, my father's dead, my brother's dead, my aunts and uncles are dead, my grandparents are dead, my dog's dead, a lot of friends I know have died. It's inevitable. I'm probably going to die someday too. And once you get past that and realize, okay, yeah, it can't be that bad. I mean, it happened to my mom, it happened to my dad, happened to my brother, happened to my aunt and uncle, my grandparents. They're all dead. It happened to every single one of them. When you get past that and accept that, picking up the phone and calling Joe and ask them if they want to buy your product, or getting out your comfort zone and walking across the dance floor and asking him out or her out, I mean, what is that? I mean, yeah, it's new. It is new, but it's not a big deal compared to the biggest fear that I think we have is physical death and the death of ourselves. Meaning, we're evolving, we're changing, we're growing, we're experiencing new things, and it really truly is a matter of identity. Now, I think here's what the secret is. If you can go there first in your imagination with what you want to create as far as how you see yourself and what you're going to do new, and you can start there first in your imagination, then what happens is when it happens in real life, it's not that difficult. Like, I think it was Drew Carey, you know, he wanted to go on the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. And he had rehearsed that in his mind hundreds of times, that Johnny was going to call him over and he'd sit down in the couch. Jerry Seinfeld, the same way. A lot of these great stars, David Letterman, they visualized doing something they've never done before. They would rehearse it out in stages and little bars and places, but their goal was to get on Johnny Carson. Just the other day I was talking to a waitress about 16, 18 years old, and I said, can I ask you a question? Who's Johnny? Who's Johnny Carson? She goes, I have no idea. Fame is fleeting, right? Getting back to the topic, doing something new means the death of you. It means the death of you. It's easier just to hang out with the same people, eating the same foods, driving the same locations, doing the same thing. If you really want to grow, you have to do it, I think, my opinion, from the inside out. From the inside out. So you imagine it, you visualize it, you see it, you're really crystal clear about it, and then when you get that audition on Johnny Carson, which by the way is not going to happen, but when you get that audition, or when you're asked to speak, or you're asked to do something, or you get that promotion from your boss, here's the reason why you've gotten it, because most people don't get it, because you have done the work. You have visualized it, you have imagined it, and you're focused on it. Because let's face it, most people get focused, very few stay focused. All you have to do is separate yourself from the masses.
90.
That's it. That's all. It's not that difficult. All you have to realize is most people when they get to 65 are going to be broke. Most people at 65 don't like their life. Most people are not healthy. Most people are not living the lives of their dreams. I am. I think it's the grace of God, I'll tell you the truth, but I am. So for you, all you have to do is just look at the circumstances and say, all I have to do is get clear and not look for validation from people that are not happy. That's the key. I really believe it. So today we talked about new. Next week we're going to talk about the letter D, and then we're going to do a bonus. I hope I gave you something new to think about, and I think I did. We'll catch you next week. Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Check out Greg at gregdwyer.com. Be sure to download his ebook at gregdwyerebook.com to stay focused on what matters most to you. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. We want to thank you for listening. Now go make a difference in your world.